What do Vicky Chen and the three slaughtered yeshiva boys have in common?
They were Jews.
Well, and Israeli.
And Israelis. But it doesn't matter. They scream, Yitzbach al Yahud. That doesn't mean slaughter the Israeli. That doesn't mean slaughter the Zionist or the IDF soldier. That means slaughter the Jew. They were Jews, and that's what it's about.
What kind of protection do the Jews outside of Israel have against Jewish and Zionist prospective terror targets?
Most importantly, I feel that we have unity, and we're uniting more and more ever since this tragedy happened with the three boys. We're uniting more, and we're going to unite, and that's a message for the world to know that, again, as I said before a few times, the age of the wimpy Jew is over. We cannot have it anymore. So
what's your response to the wimpy Jew? I mean, what proof do you have of Jewish strength in the Jewish community?
What proof do I have of Jewish strength?
That we're standing around singing the Israeli national anthem and Hinei Matov.
I think that's a wonderful thing to do. I think that also shows unity, but what also shows tremendous unity is grouping together and forming real groups for self-defense, Jewish self-defense. That's what has to be done. Because without that, we see what happens when we're nice, and we see what happens when we're tolerant. Look what happened in Nazi Germany, pogroms, inquisitions.
You think that could happen here?
Yes, I absolutely do think it could happen here, because they didn't think it could happen in Germany. Germany back then was the America of Europe, and it was economically thriving, and it was politically thriving, and then Hitler, may his name be erased, came up and brought out that hatred.
There are many Jews who like to enter into Palestinian friendship groups and unity groups and chavuras with Palestinians who believe that by befriending and joining socially, that they're going to make peace between Israel and the Palestinians. What do you think about that?
So I think in theory, if it could be done, then that's a wonderful thing. We don't want war. We don't want killing of anybody. But we also see, unfortunately, through history, that we've tried that. We've sat and negotiated with Arafat. We've sat and negotiated with Abbas and the PA. We've sat and negotiated with every single one of them. And we've made negotiation agreements, but they always break it, and it always comes back to square one, which is killing Jews, blowing up buses, roadside shootings, not only in Israel, but in America, like we see here, unfortunately. And you know something, I love all Jews, I really do. I love all Jews, but I want to address the liberal left, especially the Jews. If you're bothered by this, by us Jews standing up, and when you cry out, and when you condemn us, we're going to respond. And right now, as we speak, I have a group of friends of mine who are working with Women in Green, and they are building a Jewish settlement on the very spot where our three brothers were kidnapped, and they're calling it Givaz Oz Gaon. And if that bothers you, liberal left, well, then we're going to build more, and we're building 3 more.
But doesn't that only antagonize and exacerbate the situation?
No, I don't think so. I think that whether we do or don't respond in a healthy or an unhealthy way for what the world perceives as healthy or unhealthy, I think they're still going to hate us and they're still going to condemn us. So we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. So I'd rather, I'd rather live in a little tiny Eretz Yisrael than in Auschwitz or a Bergen-Belsen or a Majdanek that is loved by the world. So, I don't think that negotiation, I don't think that peace is possible.
For young people who are not familiar with the teachings of Rabbi America Honey, maybe their liberal or even far left parents have smeared his name and reputation. How do you think the teachings of Rabbi America Honey, the Jewish Defense League, and the Kach Party ought to be viewed by people in the X generation?
It should be viewed as truth. It should be viewed as addressing the problem that we're facing in a truthful way. I feel that back then everybody opposed Kahana for being an extremist and for being a wacko.
What was extreme about him?
He formed groups to defend Jews called the J.D.L. He was very against any Arab being in the land of Israel. He was very against Jews fighting each other. He was pro-unity and also, most importantly, God-fearing. He relied and he knew his relationship with God, and he knew the relationship that God has with the entire Jewish nation. And that's what we need to do. Yes, our physical strength and our physical obligations we need to fight, but we also need our spiritual obligation, and that's connecting to our Creator. And once we are united, and once we really rely on God, then He'll step in, and we won't have to be afraid from the world anymore. That's a problem, that Jews are afraid of the world.
How do you think young people ought to relate to the teachings of America Honey? Should they avoid it?
No, not at all. Because we see now that what he said 25 years ago, everything he predicted came true. He spoke about, the possibility and the idea of negotiating with terrorists and what that would do. He spoke about the idea and the fact about what would happen if the Arabs became a majority in the land of Israel. And they're trying, and they know that they cannot win militarily. They lost 3 wars. They cannot destroy Israel militarily, so they're doing it politically. Unfortunately, we're helping them to get college educations in prison so that they can one day become the future doctors and the lawyers and the politicians and the soldiers and the police officers and the judges. And that's where the revolution comes from. It doesn't come from the peasant. It doesn't come from the illiterate Arab who can't do much, who's just working in his field. It comes from the educated ones so that they can peacefully, democratically vote the state of Israel out of existence.
Would you rather have an ignorant Palestinian leadership?
I don't want a Palestinian leadership at all. That's what I want. I want there to be no Arabs in the land of Israel. I don't want to be afraid of them. I don't want to be, I don't want to see them. Let them live in any one of their 17 major Muslim countries, and let me live in my one tiny little country. This conflict has nothing to do with land. It has to do, again, with the fact that we are Jews.
You see it as a holy war?
Yes.